Okay, so today we're going to go over how to write an article on LinkedIn and kind of how you would want to use the article feature on LinkedIn. An article is different than a post. It does not show up in the feed the same way that a post does. If you are trying to figure out what an article is compared to a post, here's a few differences. Number one, you have a much larger limitation on the amount of words that you can use. So this could be lengthy. And number two, this is very similar to what a blog post would be on a website. So if we go to a website and click on someone's blog, it's like a collection of posts, articles, things like that. That's what this is. The benefits of using articles on LinkedIn are that they are highly searchable. Our posts are only searchable to a degree. Your articles are where other people are going to find you on LinkedIn. If they're searching, if you have certain keywords in your post, then people may come across your profile, but these articles are where people are going to find you if they're searching on LinkedIn not on LinkedIn, on Google for a topic. Your article stands a much better chance of ranking than anything else. So when you're thinking about writing articles, I just want you to think about doing things consistently. So I think an article a month is a great start. It's obviously a bigger lift. If you are publishing a blog post weekly to your website, I would repurpose that and bring it over here as an article, and then you could just do it weekly. But whatever you're doing, just try to do that consistently. I guess the last thing I'll mention here about just the article in general is it's best practice when you are writing any article, whether this is a blog post or an article on LinkedIn, to come up with a main idea. And I think that's probably pretty self-explanatory. However, what we're trying to think about are what keywords make up the main idea of this article. So if I were going to do an article about leadership roles in the construction industry, something like that. So leadership in construction industry would be the two keywords that I would be going for. So we want to put together like the main idea and then repeat those words throughout the article. Don't overdo it, but a few times for sure, and make sure that we have that search term in the title. That is just very basic SEO practices that you can put into your articles. And what SEO is, if you're not sure, is it's search engine optimization. So obviously when we are searching on Google for something, we're searching by typing in a few words into the browser bar. Those words are considered keywords. So when you are brainstorming your list of articles, you could go to ChatGPT and put in a prompt to, come up with articles or blog post ideas, article ideas relating to whatever it is that you do. And that should give you a list of what you can go on. But we just want to make sure that each article has specific search terms, and we don't want to jam a bunch of search terms into each article. I would go for one main idea. So the technical piece, how do I write an article? So if you log into LinkedIn, I'm only going to show this on your desktop because I think that writing an article on your phone would be a challenge. So when you log in, you go to the main feed, and then you'll see the starter post box up here. And then, you have these options underneath here. So we just would want to click on write an article. From here, you can decide if you want to publish the article as your personal page or business page. If you're just getting started, I think, this is how we teach with the company pages. It's a challenge to have content on both pages. You could repurpose a personal article as a business post article, totally could do that. So I would always start off with publishing as your personal profile, get the hang of it, and then start repurposing content over to your business page. So I'm just going to click next because I'm going to choose my personal profile. And then you can see that this very much resembles probably a Word document or something along those lines, maybe a Google Doc, something like that. Okay. So we have options to make bold text. We have italics. We have all of these little things. We can actually add images. We can add links. This is one of the places where LinkedIn allows you to add a link. We can have different heading sizes, so we don't just get normal text. We can have, bigger text, and then H1 is bigger, and then H2 is a bit of a smaller text, but they're both bigger than your body size text. So that is just in terms of formatting. It's always a good idea to have headings throughout so that people can kind of skim through and read the pieces that they want to read, because in reality, not a lot of people are going to read our entire article. Hopefully we get to the point where people are reading all of our articles, but it's definitely something that you have to work towards. So I would highly recommend writing all of your articles on a Word document, a Google document, whatever type of document system that you use first, and then bringing it in here so that you can copy and paste. Again, that title, we want to make sure that we have some search terms in there. And then you can just go ahead and paste your article in here. You can see also that you can tag people in your articles. So this is a good place if you need to cite something. So if your article is sharing an idea that somebody else put out, this is where you would want to mention them in here. And then, I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. You can use different headings, you can add images, you can add links. I highly recommend using different types of text, bolding some words and using italics to some words just to make your article more readable. Because if we just paste giant blocks of text, it's very similar to our summary where it's not going to be skimmable. And everybody's, anything that you put out like this needs to be skimmable. So a couple of things before I wrap this up. Number one, you can have a cover for your article, which I definitely recommend. I would recommend making this probably specific to your article in your branding colors or whatever it is that you're doing. But, you could always use a different, or you could repurpose your banner if that's what you want to do. So you would just go into Canva and make a custom size. They may have the size in there, and make your banner here. I don't think the rules are probably very similar to what I would suggest for your personal banner. Don't use small text. Don't put a lot of text near the edges. Make it super clear and crisp and minimal wording so that people can just see it. And I think, you probably don't even need to use text. And if you were going to use text, I probably would just only put the title. Okay. So that's that about images. Now, you might be wondering why you would want to use code or embed something. So, if you want to use code, a couple of things that you could use are, if you use an email provider like Flowdesk or ConvertKit or MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or SendGrid or whatever it is, you should be able to create a form in your email provider. And when you create that form, it will generate a code that you can embed. So that way you could get email signatures in your article. So if you, at the end of your article, you say, to get more information, please sign up for my email list or something like that, and then you have it embedded, people don't have to click a link to get out. However, if that's too complicated for you, you can always just add a link to your opt-in page or whatever if you have one of those created. The other thing that you can use the actual embed option for is to share YouTube videos. So you would just come over to your YouTube video, and I just picked a video here, and we would just click share and grab this link and then paste it into here and click apply. And then when we do that, it will actually embed the video right in your article. So if you're publishing videos on YouTube, this is a great way to link back to it. And this also just looks like super nice, right? So just make sure when you are going over to YouTube that, I could have gone into the browser bar and grabbed this link, but the best practice here would be to go to your video, click the share button, and then copy the link that it has there, because sometimes we can get some extra characters and things in here that we don't necessarily want. So under manage, you can see that you can schedule your article. You can share a draft with someone. This is also where we go to create a newsletter, which I'll do an updated training on that shortly. You can see articles that you have had published. You can come over here to SEO settings. And again, if this totally freaks you out, you don't have to do this. Just doing the basics here is going to help you with your searchability on Google. But what you would just want to do is you could put a title in here that is more keyword oriented. Typically when we make our title out here, we want this to be really readable and, something that people would click on. So you don't, if you pick that search term like leadership roles in the construction industry, that putting some of those things in the title is probably a good idea, but maybe not all of them. So when you come over here to SEO settings, you could actually put all of those in there, and it's going to make your title be friendly and easy to read. But on the back end, the searchable title will have the keywords in it. Your SEO description, let's see if they have a max characters. So 140 to 160 characters, which is pretty small. So you're just going to want to write a description of your article. And think about it this way. If I was clicking on your article on YouTube or on Google, I went, searched, found it, what description would make me want to click into that and read it? What terms would it have in it that I might be searching for, that I might be like, oh, okay, I need to go read this article. So having that description here is just good for your long-term search on LinkedIn through Google. Okay, so, and then when you're done, you just click next, and this is going to ask you if you want to share your article with anyone. So, share it on the platform. So what this means, basically, it's the same thing when you publish an event and it asks you if you want to share the event on the platform. So when you publish an article, it's going to ask you if you want to share that on LinkedIn. So you have the option to do that. And you can also see here that this is how you schedule it for later. So if you have a bunch of blog posts, I think it would definitely be worthwhile to go in and just schedule these out so that you don't have to do it all of the time. And then you just click publish. And then you would have, I'm going to get rid of this, an article that you can put in your featured section, you can share in a post, and you can use to bring leads to you in a kind of a different way. So that is everything about articles, and please let me know in office hours or strategic advisory if you have any questions.